Namo manjo shiri ye, nama so shiri ye, nama dama shiri soha. Namo manjo shiri ye, nama so shiri ye, nama dama shiri soha. Namo manjo shiri ye, nama so shiri ye, nama dama shiri soha. Yeah. So for Rinpoche's long life, we are going to recite refuge and bodhicitta prayers 21 times. Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Gasuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Nikapsuchi, Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi, Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Sange Chedan Zoge Chonala Chanjo Bando Nandi Kapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Chonangi, Jola Benche Sange Joba Jo Peke Jushin Me Chozhan Vira Lingshe Nide Kenpa Sange Shindo Mide Uwa Ye Chokun Namda Shinla Cheba Shu Ye Dang Guru Rana Mendala Kanti Yata Yami
뭐야? 다들 삼들이 해서 먼저 띵엔지 잡은 거 이게 가도요. 네,
네, gunung 제거라. gunung taki, gunung 쪽이 있나요?
이거 있죠. 이제 찾는 거.
맞소.
비디신다.
맞소.
아무래도 그만. 이제 비디신이요.
카톡.
뭐지나 이제 되다. 저다가 첸데 이만 식가빙지 못하다. 마마제 빠지지 마시고 전좀 처럼 비지지 만드는 대원대 잘난도 고로 지금 분명 봐서 요 비가 비지지 않는 비지지 못하는 대지 필수 서버다 되는 좀 되는 거지. 되는 거 그렇죠. 제가 신이 말하는 신이 말해서
All sentient beings have been our mothers. No sentient beings have been our mothers for numberless times. They are as kind as the mothers of our life, of this life. Even though all kind other sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, however, due to not knowing the objects of abandonment adoptions properly, they create a karma that brings forth the result of suffering only. In our mind, sincerely cultivate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice if all kind mother sentient beings had happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next we cultivate love. Next we cultivate compassion toward all suffering mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice if 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free of all adversities. May 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free of all adversities. I will cause 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings to be free of all adversities. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next we generate bodhicitta. First, we should ask ourselves who should take the responsibility to free all sentient beings from the sufferings of whole samsara and of 3 lower realms. I should take the responsibility to free all sentient beings from the sufferings of whole samsara and of lower realms. But I do not have the ability to do so now. Only those who have achieved the perfect complete enlightenment have the ability to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all sentient beings, by all means, I want to become Buddha. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, that our aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha. These transform into a mundis at one's heart. And our ultimate bodhicitta, which is one's mind, becoming in one taste with emptiness, that all phenomena are lacking of inherent existence. These transform into a white 5-plunge Raja on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness, that I neither exist intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically. Set motivation. For the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha. For this purpose, I'm going to receive the commentary on Lamrim teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to continue with where we stopped last class. So the King of Concentration Sutra says, the training that I taught to those who wear the ladies' great apparel, even monks who are fully ordained will not have those trainings then. So, yeah, so it talks about even the trainings that Buddha taught to the lay persons, then when even those ordained ones also do not have those trainings. So it refers to when the Buddha's teaching is degenerated. So when it's very much degenerated already. So even the 4 or 5 precepts of 4 or 5 of the lay vows, even fully ordained monks, they do not keep those vows properly. So it refers to when the Buddha's teachings is very much degenerated. So even fully ordained monks, they cannot keep those vows properly. So in general, fully ordained monks, they have 253 vows. So however, when it comes to very degenerated times, when the Buddha's teachings is very much degenerated, then even the fully ordained monks, they could hardly keep those 4 or 5 lay vows properly. So, and yeah, so if at this time, when the Buddha's teaching is very much degenerated, so even a person able to keep a vow, such as a morality, able to keep one morality, such as a morality of abandoning the 10 non-virtues, the benefits that the person receive will be extensive. So then it says, the same sutra says, so the same sutra referred to King of Concentration Sutra. So the King of Concentration Sutra says, at a time when the Dharma decays and the Sugata's teachings are coming to an end, the merit of those who practice a single training just one day and night will extraordinarily exceed the one who, for millions of eons, as many as they are the sand grains in the Ganges, and with a clear mind, honors billions of trillions of Buddhas with food, drink, parasols, banners, and garlands of light. So if a person who makes with a clear mind, then has to make such an offering, make offerings, number of offerings as equaling the sky, then to billions of trillions of Buddhas with food, drink, parasols, banners, and garlands of light. So compared to these actions, compared to these virtuous activities, so if a person at the time when the Buddha's teachings is degenerated, then a person able to keep one practice, able to keep one training, practice a single training. So, like for example, to keep one morality. So, like even for ordained persons or even a lay person, able to keep one morality, such as the morality of 1-day precepts or the morality of abandoning the 10 non-virtues. If able to keep just one morality, the benefits, the merits, and the strength that the person will receive is much greater than a person who make those offerings, those numbers of offerings equaling this, the sand grains in the Ganges to billions of trillions of Buddhas. Then it talks about the way to practice. So it talk about the way to practice. Then here it says among the 4 causes for infractions, the antidotes to not knowing. So this the 4 causes for infractions. This is the first one, not knowing. And the second one is carelessness or non-conscientiousness. And the third one is lack of respect. And the fourth one is many mental afflictions. So these, the in italic one, so these are the 4 causes for infractions. And if we do not counteract it, then the faults and infractions that happens will be like a rain before us. So among the 4 causes for infractions, the antidote to not knowing is to study and know the trainings. So yeah, if we do not know about the object of abandonment and object of adoptions, then one will accumulate many faults, or one will commit many faults, just like the rain before us. So then we engage in those non-virtuous activities, those bad negativities. So in order to counteract such faults, then one have to know those objects of practice. So when we talk about the teachings, there are 2 types of teaching: scriptural teachings and realizational teachings. So the text that we are studying right now is a Lamrim text, which condense or which compose of the intentions and intentions of Buddhas together with its commentary. So through studying these, by relying on lamas and one's teachers, then we will be able to know what the object of abandonment and object of adoptions are, and then what are the antidotes that we have to apply in order to eliminate the object of abandonment. So by understanding those informations, then one will be able to apply the antidotes, and one avoids doing those negativities.
Mexibi nemo de legend in the Stibachi, that Bami Nemo, that Bami Nemo, the Landoji, Minas and Majiba, Temba. Not so Bami want to Robaina, Lega Kaju Gamechan, Bami want to Robaina, Tikanda, then what's your Mari, and what's a Shigma, Cheer your Mari, Roa, the Lelo on the Rojari, Bami, so they want to go on a deep, what's a Shigmari, Roa, Cheer to see Umari. Kanda Lelo on Pando, Sulam Wasala Manzi, Chill and Manzin Sadi, then Lega Kaju Gamiche. Then Lega Kaju Gamichina, then Yabasan Gua, then Yabasan Gura. Oh, the conditions are taking Yabo Gardner, that language in Mina of Sopanda, so Park Obia, the Chinas of Lake, where indeed Mina from Majiba Yamaya, till a Timbatin, yes, it was. Some Salapin, so you want you so Galapina, Jebashin. Maybe show the we shall show the Jebashin Higi, not to Higi to the social. You are used to what like never sound do it. Ye shall watch you, Magi shall watch you do the DC Jebachi with what he is. I mean, what the lead, so the Julapen, so one of Jebachi, let's Higi. Daga Chichi Jesu that day, Kasiku Hisara, so since you call it Shisara, not so what's a keep us about the Daga Chichi Jesu, what's a keep. Cheers over the he can say the shine, he can say the shine, a chair of us, chair ship, you because she's a war. Oh, That the around Jitsi, what's actually about the king, Jitsi, did Chioba, the digital, then Yaji, Namis and Gine, that's sort of Akuma. What's actually in Zingris, Masala, in Zimbabwe, Masala, Chiola, and Shawang Balaman, this sort of in Zingris. That's the Dinzambaina, the Pamedi, Pamedi, neighbor, I don't know to be a war.
So the first fault is not knowing, and then the antidotes to not knowing is to study and know the trainings. And then the second fault is carelessness or non-conscientiousness, and the antidote to it, and then one of it is mindfulness. So the mindfulness that doesn't forget the objects and aspects of what to adopt and what to discard. So because of non-conscientiousness, then one do not have a shame and embarrassment. So shame and embarrassment, as we studied in mind mental factors. So because of non-conscientiousness, then one will not have a shame and embarrassment. And because of not knowing, because of not having shame and embarrassment, then one will engage in activities as one like. So whether it's a virtuous or non-virtuous, then one will just engage in it, and together with the laziness as well. So the one of the antidotes to counteract non-conscientiousness is mindfulness. So being mindful of the object of abandonment and the objects of adoptions, not forgetting them. So then that is the first antidote. And the second antidote is vigilance. So the vigilance or introspection that individually analyzes the three doors at every moment and brings to mind the good and faulty actions that you engage in. So with vigilance or introspections, then you always check your body, speech, and mind. Whether your body, speech, and mind is in the virtuous directions or in the non-virtuous directions. So these vigilance or introspections that always check your body, speech, and mind. And then together with the shame that shuns faults from the perspective of oneself or the Dharma, and the embarrassment that shuns faults, thinking that others will criticize you. So and the intimidations. So shame and embarrassment, then we have studied in the mind and mental factors class, in that modules, that out of consideration for oneself, then one avoids negativities, and embarrassment is out of considerations for others, then one avoids negativities. So by applying those antidotes, and then we will be able to remove carelessness or non-conscientiousness.
That's a lot of
and the third cause for infractions is lack of respect.
차도 마요와 레세 마요 나지 마요 참하게 내고 그것도 우리가 그바디 와 그바디 때 라네테 또바다 가리네테 토와서 그냥 차도 이거와 차도데 마요 있는 거 되는 거예요. 뭐 라다 또바 인양바다 가린 양바이네 참하라 레세테 가도 그래 그바야 못 쳐버리는 다 나지 라네 뭐와치나 되네 나지 거냐 맞지 와 좋은 상바 집어 관리지나 소로만 그바치에 개천들이 this issue
And the third cause for infractions or transgressions is lack of respect, and the antidote to it is be respectful. So lack of respect, then the antidote is be respectful. So this respect is very important, and then is very good as well, because not only one should practice it in according in Dharma practice, and this being respectful to others is also is also a good practice in the society as well, in the community as well. So not only being respectful can stop the cause of infractions, that is lack of respect, it can also become the antidotes for jealousy. It can also become an antidote for pride and competitiveness, because this jealousy then is one jealous with one jealous of someone else, whose realization is higher than oneself, and competitiveness. Then competitiveness is the mind wishing to compete with others whose realizations is equal to us, and then together with the pride, one will have pride because when we meet with someone whose realization is lower than us. So this this respect also can become the antidotes to suppress those negative thoughts as well. And as an antidote to many mental afflictions, then you should examine your mind stream and try to apply the antidotes to whatever mental afflictions predominate. So, regarding the mental afflictions, then in my mental factors modules, then we are reaching to that group as well, the group of mental factors. So the 6 root afflictions and also 20 secondary afflictions as well. So because of these afflictions, then one accumulates negativities or one commit faults. So one have to understand why do we accumulate why one accumulates faults is because of those afflictions. One falls under the influence of those afflictions. So whenever the afflictions manifest, then we have to apply respective antidotes to eliminate it. For example, when the anger manifests, then we have to apply the antidotes of loving kindness and patience to it. And when sometimes attachment arises, then one have to apply the antidotes of meditating on ugliness and etc. So by applying antidotes to remove those afflictions, then one will not commit faults like the raindrops.
hindi saya 좀 hindi 하고 근데 공부 연결 근데 손좀 치라 누마게 자르는 것이 좋아 고대 좋아 다 누마게 자르되 또 봐이나 또 봐이나 다 녀로 힘제 붙이지 공부 되라 다 랑치 난다 선지hin다 공부 간디게 딜레오데 메바서니 좋아당지 좋아 이 좋아당 좋아 오 디낭시 오 디비 디디 좋아당사나 내 간다 예수들 간다 이제 비슷 저가 이만하게 요마르바디 예수도 사야 아니 제부도 비슷 저가 사야게 요마르바 요마르고 대낭시제스와 간다 이제 초라당만 낭시제스와 간다 네가 충분치가 이제 요마르에시 담부디시와
So even the exegesis of the discipline says those who are unconcerned with regard to the teachings of the compassionate teacher and slightly transgress them will from that come under the power of suffering like mango groves that are spoiled through cutting bamboo. So so it's very important to understand the causes for infractions as what we have mentioned just now. Then even the exegesis of the discipline mentions how important it is to not being unconcerned with regards to those teachings, with regard to the objects of about the objects of abandonment and the objects of adoptions. So if we commit a small fault and then we think that it's okay, it's just a small fault, like for example, not being respectful, lack of respect, then if we think that I commit the faults of lacking of respect and then think that it's okay, then I just ignore it, then this is not, one shouldn't think in that way. And together with one thing that is just a small fault, then one is not going to apply the antidotes to remove it, to restore to eliminate the faults. This is also not okay, because whatever negativities, whatever faults that we commit, then it harms oneself and others, right? Since it is harmful to oneself or others, then one has already transgressed the prescribed rules prescribed by Buddhas already, and one have no choice but to experience the result of suffering. So therefore, it's very important to understand them and then to apply, and shouldn't be live them indifferently and just don't care even if you faults. So one shouldn't think in that way. And then like mango groves that are spoiled through cutting bamboo. So in order to protect the fruit tree in the middle, then usually the farmers, they will plant the bamboo around it, and then in order to protect the fruit tree in it, such as a mango tree. So if you were to cut the bamboo that's supposed to protect the fruit trees inside, then since the fruit tree lost its protections, then any animals or any harms can do directly to the fruit trees, such as the elephant can come and then destroy the fruit trees, and many animals, they can come and then to pick to eat the fruits as well. So since it destroys the fruit trees inside, then one will not have the fruit to enjoy anymore. So as there is no fruit to harvest anymore. So similarly, one shouldn't disregard or being unconcerned with even a small fault one committed. then those some can transgress the royal decrees of the king, and if it's infrequent, then not get punished at all. And if they transgress the Buddha's words improperly, then one will experience the results. So just like those rules prescribed by Buddhas, then if you were to transgress them, and one have no choice but to experience the result, or unless you confess it, then the negativities is purified, or unless you experience the result yourself, then otherwise there is nowhere else to, the negativities itself will not dissipate. So as compared to if one were to transgress the royal command, like a king give a command and ask you to do something, and if you transgress them or transgress the rules and etc., so sometimes through knowing some people, some big shot or something, then one can escape, no need to experience the punishment, right? No need to get the punishment. So however, if one were to transgress the words of Buddhas, then either there are only two ways. Then one is to confess them, then it purifies, or one have to experience the result.
never Punji Chini, they want to get Lula Chiba Resibo. You get to Lula Chiba Resibo, Lula Chibare, and never Chimbo Sana, they can that Maziba in a Tenya Chiba Jajarwa. What that dinner she and that was so Yami Shadow my Chima to Yami Sutun Table, Mandova, and that Elvin Dalana, she is a dear Punji Neba, Chuju Tilakanda for Maziba, and Neva Santika and Chiba Resibo.
And they will migrate to the animals realms like the Naga Elapatra, Naga being Elapatra. So with this example, this Naga Elapatra then committed not avoiding the commitments of a small faults of transgressions, and as a result of that, then this being fall into the animal realms and become the Naga Elapatra. So if one were to commit a big fault, a great fault, then 100% one will fall into the lower realms.
In this way, that also so Sotaji Dumba the Dina Neba Chimbo Sanore, but now with Dumba Deba in a diligent Chivasa. But in the Chuchu in the one with Dumba, you say Shigila, Hata Neba Chimbo Chan. You are Patana Sutu never Chuchu the yeah, one with Dumba, you say Gila, you are doing Nibal of Chimbo, Nebasana Neba Sachimbo, the child. What the reason that didn't Nebasala. So
brief, if even to a small fault or small faults, then one shouldn't be unconcerned, and then one shouldn't just ignore it. So, and one should put effort in not being contaminated by even a small fault. So, if one has if one holds a vows, then even a small fault, if you're able to guard against a small faults, then you'll receive the unbelievable benefits. And if you having the vows and not guarding against the small faults, then the negativities or the small faults, even though it's just a small fault, since one have the basis of the vows, even the small faults will become great.
But the Jelati Songwa and the Puza Dolema, Kisongwa, but the Dolmasone, that Dilakanda, the word in Masonari, the Akanda, Thomas and the word the Juja to order the Trinjilaba, the Shilwa, towards the Dodi, and that Juja to order, Trinjilaba. So then the one in my share was the Trinjilaba there, and that Rua. That day, the one is here, the Trinjilaba Dilakanda, Tidanga to Chimbata, a Raju. Niwa, Yanni Chibwe, Chingate on the Chibata Niwa. Ready now, that and the one in my sheet at the village, so that Chimba chiba ina so kanda raju be pa chalong da raju ya sole da leji choga chebu ya ndi kashi ya cheba tamba so da chiba ge chema gu ya kashi and one so ba na shi chema gu ya kashi wa da ndi kashi cheba tamba ge ndi chema gu ya kashi ma to shenda men do one so ya ge tsujingi laba ge nyani chiya 가르쳐주는 또 제고야 해서 내가도 영설리고 해서 영설리고 해서 와 근데 와서가 라주나 제목으로 와 라주나 대를 봐 나리다니 많이 제고로 와 어디 제고에 나서 간다 뭐 무슨 일이 있어 그래서 우리가 못 되지.
So the questions of Subahu Tantra states, among all pure ethics from the Pratimoksha and the Vinaya that I, the victor, taught, the people practicing mantra should abandon the signs and rituals and practice the rest. So the Vinaya baskets of teachings, its main the subject matter is about the training in morality. The subject of the training in morality. So there are two types of person who practice, who do the practice, right? One is either the lay person or is either the ordained persons. So in whatever practice or whatever precepts are mentioned in the Vinaya text, so whether you are a lay person or whether you are ordained persons, you should practice. So for lay persons, other than some signs and other than some rituals that lay person no need to do. So basically, other than that, so whether you are a lay person or whether you are ordained persons, you should practice according to the precepts mentioned in the Vinaya text.
시자 냐니 간디 제비나 디 냐니 지역이 시자 신기 맞은 신두기 맞은 동도 싸워나거든 있어 와 싸워나거든 싸워지지 달라바 소노나 그 지기 라바데 무슨 나니 이거는 뭐 쉬서와 아버니 배나 지기 라바디 시자에서 맞아 있는 질라바 쉐리 라바 간디 때 냐니 제구나 시자 다음에 지기 라바디 나니 제고라 어디 시자 또 디레스 어다 지기 라바디 야부지 매바이나 동안 니가 나온다. 간디 이나 배 수수고는 아주 똑같이 자원이네 요 말했어. 와. 두바 자 지 타. 간디나 자원이네. 지금 일라바디 하고 좀 해봐이나. 수수에 이나 요 말에 두바 라 요마 두바 지 요 말에 두바 타마 요 말했어. 와. 시작이었어.
Yeah, so the main subject matter in the Vinaya text is about training in morality, and that is the foundations of our practice. So it's just like the root of a tree. So, and this, the training in morality being the foundations, being the root, then is also already mentioned in the beginning of this text. So if we do not have these foundations, if we do not have this root, that there is a training in morality, then whatever practice that we engage in, one will not develop any realization in one's mind stream, regardless you are doing a sutra practice or whether you are doing a tantric practice. If you do not have the foundations, there is a training in morality, one will not develop any realization in one's mind stream. So whether it is a high achievement, whether it is a high accomplishment, one do not have it. One will not have the high accomplishment, and one will not have the medium accomplishment, and then one do not have the least accomplishment as well. So basically, one do not develop any accomplishment or realization in one's mind stream.
saya maratunga maragi niga galiburo di chinji pe kan so kan da soal di kan ni ba kawai nan che derwa da ni da je se wa so me ba ina ni ye kan di mu yo ba ina ni phaji pe bo ma che ba la cha sa ro wa chi da la wo ma so ni ri derwa ndu dire amen ndu se ko da ro dire wa de mi le da so me ba ina ni kan che sa ga le wo se wo ha ni da ndu ba ko ya ko yo ba ina Rangiji soal kami ibu mari soal ya pun cakap. Dulu ni sudah ya pun, tu sudah ya pun na. 每次找你大伙面，他们是吧？找你那样，你的说啥？那出去说的，你哪些？出去要不要不呢？那娘的看的这个他他嘛呗，不过那个也是不的，是吧？出去要不呢？我对娘的看的这个呢，另外有送的团的呗，如果娘的看的这个呢，那长嘛呗，是你长啊，俺家这个呗，现在长嘛长看嘛那些，我对你用过也是。是吧？俺家这个别现在家什么成天多，我的都看的是这些多，我那那些我的也是我，
And also, Kadama Geshe Kamdong also said when the mean breaks out, everything depends on Bali. Likewise, everything depends on ethics. Therefore, honestly, apply yourself to it. So, when the time where many people they face a lot of food problems, and when the quality of life is when one is difficult to find those foods, such as during the famine breaks out, then one will difficult to find those find foods, right? So don't mentions about the rice, and in the past then it's difficult to get rice, right? So then don't mentions about during the famine. So then if a person or even a country they do not have rice, or even they do not have barley, or if they do not have grain, then they will face a lot of difficulties, right? So instead, if a country or a person who has barley or who has grains, etc., then the persons will not have a problem living, right? Because they get all they can able to survive. So similarly, so if a person has keep pure morality, practice morality properly, then the rest of the practice it just follows. It's just like a magnet able to attract those metals and ions, etc. Attracts metals. So similarly, if one has a morality, or if one practice morality, then whatever practice that one engage with our body, speech, and mind, then one will be able to do so.
我等于当然是自己也不明白呢，自己比大不明白呢，别看的，你看的，每个年纪对的说是我的那些强不多，看的嘛，自己也不明白呢，别娘的看的呢，他比大不了我妈也是。他自己要不比大不用把它给继续的干的是呢，年龄上的是年龄了上，对吧？年龄的了上了要不就当我的，那自己比大不，我年纪强，年龄了上了把年龄接不对吧？他年龄时候的俺说，就地方要不就对不了，这不地方用吧？加去加的，就没给人啥东西这不对面地方，年才是吧？年才，这个年龄拿下，这个上当的，那自己的俺自己比大不强，我不能最妈妈，最妈妈呢，被你吧。有家有啥？那一句话，那是那些老大，你这别上当班人，你这不都爱用啊？对吧？我但年龄了都是上当班人，那边娘的要不就跟你出去跟当班人一起聊，对吧？你那个也是我，他讲的一起下来就送个多，来年干的是什么呢？他讲的话，去了对的，是吧？给哪里讲？你的话你这个中国哪些？是吧？俺的话呢，这个中国哪些什么看到等到出生的人，是吧？自己的习惯的，自己的习惯的，是吧？那自己要不习惯学吧，呢？你看到看你今天娘的，差不多过用的也是的，看到一些下来电话都送过，是吧？人家觉得我们是个问题吧？
Yeah, so if one do not have morality, if one do not practice morality properly, then it's just like the famines break out. One will not be able to practice. One will not be able to engage in any practice at all because there is no foundations, there is no root. So, in order for one to practice morality properly, in order for one's morality to become good, it depends on the reflections on. The reflections or contemplations on karmic cause and effect. So one have to think about karmic cause and effect in order for one to engage properly in the training of morality. So then we have to take time to think about the presentations of karmic cause and effect. So, and in brief, is about the virtuous cause that brings about the happy results, and non-virtuous cause that brings about the suffering results. So if we really give time, does it take time to think about it, then one will understand that, or that the non-virtuous actions of lying, for example, or physical non-virtuous actions, or mentally non-virtuous actions such as having covetousness or harmful intentions or wrong view, and the result of the result of these non-virtuous actions is only sufferings. So one have to take time to think about the karmic cause and effect. So if you really do so, then you will naturally engage in the training of morality, just like the Sharala said. Generally, whatever happens, so whether it's good or bad, then depends on the Dharma. So if within that, then if you rely on what is suggested in the Vinaya, then you need not change anything. So if you rely on what is suggested in the Vinaya, so basically in brief is the training in morality. Yeah, so then I say you might interpret it in other ways, and whatever happens, good or bad, I say it depends on the Dharma, right? Then you might interpret it also because of it depends on the Dharma, then bad things happen. So that is not the case. So what the word bad here refers to is if you contradict or transgress the holy teachings, then the result of it is sufferings. So if you practice the teachings properly according to the teachings, then one will experience the result of happiness. So you should be able to understand the words of the meaning of those words properly. And also Kadamba Lama, Gishitundumba, then he also said that many people rely on the Vinaya and reject a mantra or belittle mantra. So, or rely on mantra and reject the Vinaya. Only in my guru's tradition does the Vinaya become the companion of mantra, and mantra the companion of the Vinaya. So, so it is improper to belittle either one one of them. So if you practice mantra, then you shouldn't belittle sutra. If you practice sutra, then you shouldn't belittle mantra as well, because they complement each other. So each one of them, they become the companion of another. So and the sutra and and then Vinaya. So then the Vinaya mainly talks about the training in morality, right? So if you do not have the training in morality, then even if you engage in the tantric practice, so you will not be able to practice tantra because there is no foundation for you to do so. So only my Lama, so my guru's tradition, so referred to Lama Atisha. So only my guru Lama Atisha's in his instructions talks about the Vinaya becomes a companion of mantra, and the mantra becomes the companion of Vinaya.
Oh, yes, this one. Georgie, Kadisona, Happy, Numa, Jagala Kanda, Georgie, by the case, no daddy. That on that, the Lobus have been a shower, Gabino, never you wore. But that is good, never live with Georgie, will answer the Tachi, Tamachi, Bachini, Gendi, so sorry, Gendi, so sorry. That on the shower, the donation, then do you didn't do the beginning, and dig it, Labjat and Robin Dumu. It's a Jabachini also, it's a Jabachini touching also. But it's a Jabachini touching the solid touching university with the disorder.
And Atisha said, with us in India, whenever an important matter or unprecedented activity arose, those who upheld the scriptural baskets convened to determine whether it was repudiated by or in contradictions to the three scriptural baskets, and a decision was made based on that. So basically, if anything important matters or something that never happened before arise, then they will not jump into conclusions immediately, and then instead those sanghas or those ordained ones, then they will gathered, and then they will check whether it contradicts the three baskets of teachings or not, the baskets of the Vinaya, the Sutra, and Abhidhamma. So then after they do such investigations, then only they make a decision. So we from Vikrama then had the task to examine whether it is rejected or in contradiction to Bodhisattva behavior as well. So Vikrama is the main monastery where Lama Atisha recited. So basically, they also do the same thing. Then they check about the emissions, and then they check about is there any contradictions or not. So basically, even if it is a small fault, then they will avoid it. So they do such investigations and examinations, then they will avoid it. Yeah. Then that concludes the explanations of training the mind in the stages of the path common to persons of medium capacity.
ninji chiboda chanju selo so so nyane majina ta yunga yo marwa ta chanjo so yan tuji ya de ma ta jibu ni nyane de je sine taba toba tanji dejinan rigors na tsawan ni marese 가만 동굴에서는 특별 준비 장주 생 소리야 년에 지내 양동 해서 창조세 대야 뭐
Yeah, so before we start the stages of persons of great capacity, then there is a connecting passages. So the connecting passages is this passage or this paragraph. So what does it mean by connecting passengers? So connecting passengers it means that if one having practiced the path of medium scope of beings, so how to generate a disenchantment with samsara, and then by reflecting on the faults of samsara, then one develop the wish to achieve liberations. So if achieving liberations itself, does it enough? So it is not enough. Therefore, one is connected to the path of great capable being. So itself is not enough. Therefore, you should continue or you should connect to the path of great capacity beings in order to achieve the state of enlightenment. Because achieving liberation itself is not enough, because you are not being able to achieve the state of enlightenment yet. Even though achieving liberations does abandon obscurations, however, you only abandon the obscurations partially. So because by achieving the liberations, then you abandon afflictive obscurations. So however, you haven't abandoned the obscurations to omniscience yet. So in order to abandon these, then one have to engage in the path of a great scope of being. So, and that is the main obscurations that prevent us from achieving the state of enlightenment. Therefore, one should continue to practice even though one had already achieved the state of liberation. So, and if one, with just the achievement of liberations, then one cannot work for the welfare of sentient beings in an extensive way, because you are not able to take the responsibility of others' welfare yet. So in order to take the responsibility of others' welfare, then one have to practice compassion. One have to practice bodhicitta. Without such practice, then one will not be able to take the responsibility of others' welfare.
Dewa the Shidi Shubiyore, that Dewa the Shidi Lepe, Namba Shani Pe, Kaba no Kaba Mambochila, the Nipe Namba Shana Deja Yesu. You are Yatipa Chibina, Yani Chuni Majiba Masema, the David Yesu. And the Deva in a Sanji Kumato, Jan Bushu, Chano Yesu, Jan Bushuichi. With this one, they can that Juna Kambon in the Tipa Chibina Shuagi, message Yesu. You are Tipa Chibina Shuagi, Ambope. Dutch Kumbala Sama Mata, Amboni, Jumaina, Tipachimana, and go to Yagi, and do you message every Yesu. What Dutchina, Kanda, a Dutch Kumbato and the Fola, Takanda, Dosarwa, one the Dosar. In a Nyamdis or the Tapatosa, Jurumbo, Jipe, that two things like Yamba Shana, Jurumbo, she would dinner, the what she did, she were. You were a bit Jurumbo, how the Yesu.
Yeah, so if one practice accordingly, then at that point of time, then one have already achieved the state of liberations and one becomes an arhat already. However, the achievements of quality is still partial. So because and since it is just a partial achievement, then one cannot work extensively for the welfare of sentient beings. So in order to achieve the state of enlightenment quickly, then one should, from the beginning, enter the path of the Mahayana. So one should, from the beginning, enter the path of the Mahayana. So because if one were to practice if one were to regard the achievements of arhat as one's goal, so if one only have this goal, if one have the goal of achieving the arhat first, then even though you achieve the arhats, then you will not fall into the samsara. You will not fall into samsara anymore. And however, because of achieving the nirvana, then one, while staying in that state, then one will experience a bliss. One will experience a peacefulness, and then one will experience a great bliss as well. So, and one could spend eons in that state, experience the bliss and experience the peacefulness as well. And because of spending so much time in that blissful state, then achieving the state of enlightenment becomes very far. So you extend your achievements of the state of enlightenment. So therefore, one should, from the very beginning, enter the path of practice the path of Maya.
Jitinji sinji turn to balape, Metuda Ranja to the Chibola Devaina, this sinji turn to balape, Hindi judgment of the world. They do to Yama, Noah, they do Yama, they do Matua Santa, they can that this will do. Chipa take the punch is another day, this will do. Nearangi Chipa Nibo. So Nansen, but it's so Nansen, then Choshi Chiba Pango is Roa. Yanala, Duba Yani Chiade Pong is a girl, this will might be Pono Roa. Oh, then Yarangi, Chipa Nibo, into the Chibo, the so Nansen, but they Pango is. Yet Tibon Risha, the Tapila Choshi, the Nansen, Tibon Indigenous, I think you might take Pango is. What that? Chipa Yarangi, Landa. Nani Cheba in a deal heart Yanja, Chanju Silla, Nani Chilia, she did judge about Nani Cheba the model. Then Risha said, Chochi Cheba and didn't give my pound, you won't knowledge about the as and city to let them do with that. Not yet, she wrote it on Jido, but she is a Jidoa. The ball with my son.
So the Compendium of the Perfections by Asvakosha says, those whose nature is of one taste with altruism abandon forever those two vehicles. So the two vehicles refers to the vehicle of hearers and solitary realizers. So that have no power to bring about all the world's aims and enter the vehicle that the victorious sage taught out of compassion. So here, abandon forever those two vehicles. The two vehicles refer to hearer and solitary realizers, right? So even though the words it says that abandon forever the two vehicles, the meaning of it doesn't mean that you should abandon the training in these two vehicles, in the context of these two vehicles. It doesn't mean that. And what one should abandon is you shouldn't be content with the achievement of these two vehicles. So that which is the arhat, so arhat of hearers or solitary realizers. So one shouldn't be content with the achievement of by these two vehicles, and then one should continue to practice compassions and bodhicitta in order to achieve the state of enlightenment. So if you think that the achievement via this, by practicing these two vehicles is enough, the achievement of arhatship, then is enough, then that is not okay, because one will not be able to work extensively for the welfare of other sentient beings. So it doesn't mean that you should abandon the training in these two vehicles. It means instead, rather it means you should abandon being contented with the achievement based on these two vehicles.
Nyarang toba jila cheba ti deva ina da shindegi jachimbu tu mareti randi samjire eswa ta tindi randi samji deva ina ta anda ta tindu ina ta won loti lu dang wa loti wa Hobbit send up is a deal one with the send up. That digi kanda no magani. That kanda randi chibo dubatana that duel to do in a bushing reason. Yet on the Vigilance to my reason. That dima Wolma is a ship.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be contented with the achievements of hero or solitary realizers, because one will not be able to work extensively for the welfare of sentient beings, because it's just for the welfare of oneself only. So it mainly for the one's own welfare only. So if you only think about one's own welfare, then as a letter to a friend says, then when cattle, so whoever make, so as letter to a friend says, so if you work only for the welfare of oneself, or if you work for the happiness of oneself only, then one is no different from than animals. Even the animals, they do so to accomplish their own welfare of happiness.
Hobbit send up communication was looting Sura, looting Sura, Kandape, Shindo Nili, Zagan, but the Shujan and Sasra. Hachapena, the Ruina Korope, Toguto, the Koran Swat, that so the Saka on the same Shingris, say Shingrid, say Shimba Majakoran is Ara, Salis, Rua, and it's saying that Toguto not to be saying, saying Agresco. Kuran Sagre, Kapoban, Chukavan, dashing this book. Chutu, Kuran Gashing, Chutu is one. But the Zotamata, Susurang turned out to go to Natsan, Zakawan, the Sakawan, Dane, Tin machine is, Kapona Chuk, about the machine is one. Or that indeed, Dejana, Digmaranga 30 that young 30 would do the cheaper years ago. That is on that on the Shindi Jachimo do Gurese. The Hindi judge would do all that Changi Stina. Yanich, Tipachimonia, Majitan, you Marias, and that did what?
Then letter to a friend says, when cattle see a mouthful of grass that is easy to get, they eat it themselves. When they are greatly tormented by thirst and find some water, they drink it with relish. However, whoever makes effort to bring about the welfare of other beings is magnificent and excels in the skills of great happy individuals. So if you only work for one's own welfare, then even animals they can do. So when an animal they hungry, then they will look for their food, right? For example, a cow, then they will look for grass to eat. And when a cow thirsty, then you will look for water and then to drink the water. So you only accomplish one's own welfare. So if one also accomplish if one only focus on one's own welfare, then one is no different from an animal, what animals do. So therefore, one should engage in working for the welfare of other sentient beings. And in order to do so, one should engage the path of Mahayana.
Oh, that's Shindi to that's GB. Shindi, that's one but Chebadilla. That's Shindi tend of Dubala. That music Chebadilla and the same part, Choboda, DG Pisu Sobada. That's someone dealing with the rest of the war. DG Pistoba. That Nimi is a bit patient Shibua. Nimi is a chili, don't you dingy Tombi said. That Nimi is a bit Nishi and Dolapa. Machasa never knows. Machasa Kawaina chapter, Chanju is saying that Sinji Kandi and that Sinji Kandi bed and that do to yak. The deep Sena Kawata to what you live is what in the duel, teach them to we can't do too much to say up and dig it. So only in Mariso. Chanju say, Bear, Yanaji Judah Jew. The Sinji Kandi in a bed, Chanju do to yak, but living yesterday, but another, not Dodoshin.
Yeah, so in traveling, riding across the sky, the powerful sun illuminates all regardless of the burden. The earth supports the world with everything in it. Those without the least self-interest, equal in nature to great beings, totally strive for that singular taste to benefit and joy for the world. So so one should put effort in working for the welfare of other sentient beings. Then one will have the charisma. Then one will experience happiness. And one will experience the excellent type of happiness. Then just like the sun, it pervades, just like the sunlight that pervades all four continents, then with bodhicitta, one will be able to work for the welfare of all sentient beings.
Oh, that thing on the 신주의 생각을 다 양자 논지 당으로 되는 지대 말이 뒤에서나 다 간다 논지 양자 논지 당으로 와 논지 다 간다 되게 양자 논지 간다 진지 신기 체도와 신지지 등이 좀 말이 봐다 명문지 배로와 뒤진 치바 얘네 대체왕만에 누가 신지지 명문지 주주바 간다 명문 이왕이 봤다 간다 주주에 데려와 주주에 명문배 뒤진치바 나시 이왕이 때 대체왕만에 간다 단다 받게 주주가 싸워도 명문 데려와 그런데 다 명문지 배로데 치고로 상관데 조디 차고 와 다 리베 제부 등한테 봐 시에기 체도와 이왕은 좀 먹이와 다 신기 된다 받두발라 수수기 태발라 내 저는 이거라 내셔나 때 제가 차보신 세로와 대나시 때 신기 된다 받두야 되게 체도 대바 매제지야 내 된디기 때 냥이 체스나 다 때랑니 제부 담바다 체바스는 미리스 와 근데 냥이 징게들라 제부 담바스네 들이 체바스네 들이 해서 되게 삼바 징게들라 뭐다 도도들
Then again, the same text says, so same text referred to the letter to a student. So those who have seen sentient beings confused by dense gray clouds of worldly ignorance as they fall without control into the blazing fire of suffering, and who mentally toy and exert themselves for them as if fire were blazing overhead, now they are great beings, they also are the wise. So sentient beings who are obscured by afflictions that since beginningless time, and this affliction is rooted in ignorance. So and because of falling under the control of afflictions, then one experience the sentient beings experience the result of it, which is sufferings. So in order to pacify those suffering results, then one have to work for the welfare of other sentient beings. So the way, the manner in which one should work for the welfare of other sentient beings is just like one's head is caught on fire. Then you put all effort in eliminating so in eliminating it. So just like that, that is the manner that you should to engage in order to work for the welfare of other sentient beings. So this is how you should put your effort. So in order to work for the welfare of other sentient beings, if you're able to work for if you put effort in this way, then in order to bring about the welfare of other sentient beings, then such practitioners is holy being, and such person is a wise person.
신기 된다 배 장주기 신기 뿐만이 신기 된다라는 상황관에 그래서 저기 가나 누가 냐네 제어디 딱 미기 전체 간가 신기 된다 라비 배 레세 간가 신기 된다 와 신기 된다 나이 쳐가 간다 누가는 간디 쳐봐이나 신기 된다 딱 된디 상황관에 배 간다 냐네 제어디 와 전주시가 냐네 제어디 배 간다 라비 전체 배딱 Yang looking at la, Rang turned to be chula busa. She turned to this one about the Rang turned to Bezin Chocomata, Rang turned to a Bezin Chocomata. She turned out the Pekali Gen whose Yanicho, Rang turned to the two side. Yana two side is a missing as a woman. Rang turned to a missing as a woman. What the mission? The Rang Pena, Mark Gupa, Sea, Nisea, that under Munti Kangapa Sea, that mean machine. Lila Natsamay Natsapaseg, Minashi. That's also my Chungi Draggy, Manduagi, that under Dirwa, Tuck. What that pay, you don't need to do a livery essay, under what? That on we are commodity, that will not be she with that Gilma, she would just show that.
So if one with bodhicitta motivations work for the welfare of other sentient beings, then basically whatever actions that you do. So whatever things that you see, then you think you see for the welfare of other sentient beings, and whatever things you hear, then you hear for the benefit of other sentient beings, and then whatever thing you think about, or whatever things that you touch, then you think about you do it for the welfare of other sentient beings. So if you're able to practice in this way, so whatever you see, hear, remember, think, or touch, everything is for the welfare of other sentient beings. Then, while you are working for the welfare of other sentient beings, indirectly, your own welfare is already accomplished. So while you are working for the welfare of other sentient beings, so at the same time or indirectly, your own welfare is already complete, already accomplished. So you don't have to put effort specifically in achieving your own welfare. So in fact, when you accomplish the welfare of other sentient beings, in fact, your own welfare has already accomplished. So just like the text says, the Mahayana is the source of all your own and others' excellence. Then the medicines removing all degenerations. So whatever things you need, then by practicing it, then it's like medicines. So whatever sickness one's had, then by practicing in that way, then it is like the medicines that cure all sicknesses. Yeah, so just like Shantideva in Bodhicattva, it says that if you want to accomplish your own welfare, then you should accomplish the welfare of others. So by achieving the welfare of others, one's own welfare is accomplished. So that is the meaning of as it mentions here, and also in the Bodhicattva also mentioned the same as well. So in order to accomplish the welfare of others, then liberation itself is not enough. So therefore, there is this connecting passages. So from the medium capacity and then connect to the great capacities. So therefore, one should engage in the path of great capable being. So the path of great capable being basically it mainly refers to the practice of bodhicitta. So when one achieves the state of arhatship, so according to Prasangika Madhyamika, so when one becomes arhat, then one has already realized emptiness directly. So different school of has a different school of tenets, then they assert differently. However, according to Prasangika Madhyamika, so when one becomes arhat, then one has already realized emptiness directly. However, so with this direct realizations of emptiness itself, one cannot, work extensively for the welfare of others. Therefore, one should engage in the path of great capacity being. So, as mentioned just now, so the Vinaya and Tantra, they are being the companion of others. So, in Vinaya, then it talks about the emissions and talks about the prohibitions. Yeah. So in Vinaya and Tantra, then it talks about emissions and prohibitions. So in these emissions and prohibitions, it refers to one person. So it is one person's admit to do something or prohibit from doing something. So according to that person's, then the interests, mental dispositions, and etc. Then one is gradually achieve the state of enlightenment, guided to it, gradually guided in order to achieve the state of enlightenment. So if not, and one, if you if a person who is very new to Buddhism, then immediately you start to talk the meaning of give teachings about emptiness to that person, then there is a great danger that the persons might misunderstand it, and then because of that, then accumulate great misdeeds. So therefore, according to the mental dispositions, the interests, and of individual, then one is gradually guided to the state of enlightenment. So, so if one only practice Vinaya, so if one only practice Vinaya and do not engage in the Tantric practice, then this person also cannot engage. This person also cannot work extensively for the welfare of others as well. So therefore, is conjoined with the Vinaya. So it says the companion, right? The Vinaya and the Tantra, they are companion. So, and however, if you do not practice Vinaya, then even if you engage in Tantric practice, then one do not have the foundations to engage in Tantric practices as well. So when one engage in Tantric practice on the foundations of Vinaya or with the companion of Vinaya, then one will be able to work for the welfare of other sentient beings extensively. So engage in these best of vehicles or supreme vehicles with whatever ability of a great being you have. And so basically with whatever ability your body, speech, and mind have, then you should by all means, with all strength, engage in the path of a great capacity being, great capable being.
Yeah, that is the Jima de la Manzo. That is that's that is
Yeah. So next class, we are going to have a question and answer about the medium capable being. The medium capable being. So if you have any questions, then you can ask in next class. So you can prepare and then ask in coming class. So if you have any questions now, then maybe one or two. So then we will stop, because I think many of you might have as it might become tired because of the previous event. So so if you have questions, then you ask now. If you don't have questions, then we'll stop. Yeah, so coming class, then we are going to start the path of great capable being. So I urge you all to put great effort in studying it. Yeah, so we have really gone through the connecting passages.
Keshala, I have one question about today's teaching. For the beings that have been in liberation, and when they are urged to go into the Mahayana path, where do they start from? From the beginning, from the small, medium, and then go to the Mahayana? Where do they start back from?
Yani di tabat di top sai na, ini di kata di teaching gilam sangki giku biro, ini di teaching gilam di juaris, ini di yang teaching gilam juai na, kongsu yang teaching gilam kawa di goju sa di kawa inas teaching gilam.
tambo tiba chindi na tambo yusa da tiji tsona sa de sobila so sa do ta tiji tsona de tobala ye tambo nga zo ninji chimbo na lo jang ninji chimbo lo jang de ninji chimbo jila jewu de tiba chimbo risen so do tiba chimbo risen e chanju bi se tiji ni ba risen na tiba chimbo risen ninji chimbo jila jewu
ninji chimbo gyal ke wa na, ini di kata teaching ba de
teaching ba chago yo tiba chimbo risen
rikse bala.
tiba chimbo da kanda ya shurari da ngana bu ne
oh that's
do da ma du chanju bi se jila jewu la da kanda ninji mena je yo ma ninji chimbo na tiba chimbo na gyala da ma zu ninji da jeje mena ding so la lo jang da kanda da da do de jeje mena ding la ya lo jang da jeje mena ding la lo jang ni de chanju bi se jila thoma jewu di da tiba chimbo sona shin do
jeju same day ro.
오, tiji tsona. Tāngā 타바 토차리 안다. 진짜 명아 되는 로장을 줘. 다가다. 진짜 명아 되는. 다 진짜 명아 된거 되라. 간다 로장. 얘들이 로장도 내 되게 토네. 내가 안다 티바 친구야. 슈리디 chanju 로장도 때문에 chanju 세비 길라 가디 제바이나 티바 친구 드치다. 와.
Yeah. So if one already achieved the state of liberations, then when they enter the path of Mahayana, then they first enter the path of accumulations of Mahayana. So in order to achieve this path of accumulations of Mahayana, then they have to practice great compassions. So they have to train their mind in great compassions. And when great compassions arise in the minds of that, arise in the mind of being, then he is in the process of becoming a Mahayanist. He is not a Mahayana practitioner, or he is not a Mahayanist yet. So however, he is in the process of becoming a Mahayanist. So basically, these beings who have already achieved the state of liberations, and then when they enter the Mahayana path, then this being have to practice or train their mind in the seven cause and effect. They have to train their mind in seven cause and effect, and in order to generate bodhicitta. So whenever bodhicitta arise in the mind stream of the being, then that being become a Mahayanist, and that being has entered the path of accumulations of Mahayana.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, very good question.
Krishna, I have a very simple question. Just now, when we were talking about the questions of the Subahu Tantra, it referred to lay people practicing mantra should abandon signs and rituals and practice the rest. What are signs and rituals?
Anything kasa the kimba tang rapju ina anything nga nyamni chi kasa nga nyamni chi kapla trawo ina any anta tang choga de pangore mato any de mato any de sama de nyamni chi ora du wasate. Na du wasate.
좋아서
Any
raju chimbaina raju ma chalu chan or wese raju ta chan chan de pong wese de raju pe so be leji choga de che sun du be
leji
or lejo choga de ta ya so lejo so ya so che ko mare se chimba
le pena chashana and the love pena you.
da raju pe so pe raju ang pe choga che yo wa so de che ko mare se chimba
Also.
again do ani ma sun ya de so me sitting love what so ko ma so chimba ina ma so do ani sun jo pe so ta ji do ba so yo ro so ni ji do ba yo ro so ta ni ji ro ni ji do ba so le ro ni ji do ba so yo ro o de ni che ko
That's so. Yeah. So whatever is mentioned in the Vinaya, then even the lay person should practice it. And however, other than some signs and rituals, right? So the sign referred to the signs of ordinations. So a lay person don't have to carry the signs of ordinations. And then the ritual, there are certain rituals only, required for, there are rituals ordained persons have to do. So other than those signs and signs of ordinations and the rituals only done by the ordained persons, then basically lay persons also have, basically the lay person have to practice what is mentioned in the Vinaya.
Okay. Raju pro ina do ani ma sun je raju pro pe chin da bo ja na gi lu chin ni yang ma chi sa so yo ta song ye mi se mo mo da raju mi se yo o de li chi da de li yo le chi dang ang so raju pe so kind of so leji chowa so do ya de yo so do ya da de de chi ba bu ma ye se yo wa
die kasen ni gang up chung asung de an de kashe ya
ni tanga ke me a ko chimba la
that's so die kasen an de domba jawro
da chi da domba yo yo ra ni mi se tanga de song ga se de ke yo ma ra
And also, I'll say for fully ordained vows, then they have 253 vows, right? So, I think for lay persons, they do not have to guard specifically these 253 vows. So, this is also one of the exceptions.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Today, stop here. Yeah. How is the needs of the chicken body of the water? Then, how about the conduct? And the there's a jungle to show, and then the country show the Java to which you come back to the but and then also pay, and not to money. We have got to have the chair, the limits of the chair. Chipanata, the Chuchi, no she is here. If I know she made a track. Someone who share what. I'm also not also the fellow see of your singer. In the also Lama Posetia, Kimbo Restaurant, manager in the videos. With the missing one, it did again, and up a mountain than singular mountain, Niams or PG, Sinjin, sitting there, and sitting dating and simple 2 minutes of the department and Sanjay with the tag. But and that mountain where near teach the not certain no she was passing in the issue. That is what some of the one is a literature. The new literature didn't want to change. So,
we conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated especially with these Dhamma discussions. Maybe the complete cause for the flourish, for Buddha Dhamma to flourish and for all sentient beings to have happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So may his enlightened activities spread to all 10 directions, and may his holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. And Khepsi Lama Zopa Rinpoche, with whom Khepsi Lama Zopa Rinpoches, for whom who are especially kind to us. So because of the gallstone, then manifests the pain, manifests the sickness. So we should keep our commitments properly between the Lama and students. So by keeping the commitments pure, then it will be definitely beneficial for the good health and long life of Lamas, of our Lamas. So we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who especially to those who pass away, especially those who pass away during this pandemic and in these wars and conflicts. So may their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And there are many sentient beings who are suffering, and especially those who suffer because of a pandemic and wars and conflict. May they quickly be freed from their sufferings. Sabeke wadi tendang juwa kunla kambe nang kepa chisun lo san jawa yi timbe nyingbo rindo se je jo semcho rinpo che ma kepa nang kikyu chi kepa nyamba me pa yang kone kondo pe wa jo tembe pa wo chita kemba nang kundu sambo te yang te shinde ngi chesu talo che ke wadi da tam che rabdo ngo ngi timbo che ma kepa nang kikyu chi kepa nyamba me pa yang pe wa jo rimi tawa rinpoche ma ke pana ki kyuchi ke pa nyamba me pa yang kone kondo pe wa sho kajin jamyun ke we ten sikun pe we tunsu to po se chusun ku we le mu tu ju ba ta so du je kondo ja ten sho je son du ju be lang chi se se kan chen chen du ge chana pe mo ten sing ga so la so wa de so tu jo do sho hende ma lu ba ka le ju we sam me yi shin no ka ten chu me ten sing ga so la so wa de so tu she le do sho awe ko we shin ko ne pe dang de wa ma lu chung we ne generous one ten sing ga so we sha be si te ba do thank you